So it is Hanukkah. I believe it's the fourth night of Hanukkah tonight. So
Yes.
we have a program about Hanukkah, and I advertised an article, and what I think we'll do is read a little bit of this article. It gets super technical, but it's not a bad introduction. So I'm going to pop up the article. Trust you can see it. It's on Torah.com. And the
Yes.
name of the article is The Original Meaning of Hanukkah. Why did Judah Maccabee establish the holiday? What were the religious and political factors that inspired the Maccabees to promote it throughout Judea and the diaspora? Um, so I'm going to ask Joanne, but we're only going to read a little bit of this. Joanne, are you up to reading?
Yes.
Okay, so right here, Hanukkah has.
Hanukkah has a special history. Early Jewish sources from the second century BCE, 1 Maccabees, 2 Maccabees, and the Maccabean epistles with which 2 Maccabees opens attest to the religious sensibilities felt by those who called to celebrate it. This evidence, some of it is roughly dated to the days of Judah Maccabee, reveal that the main focus of the festival was the temple. It was not merely a celebration of a military victory over the Seleucids, but a religious one which put the temple back at the center of the Jewish people, their practices and beliefs. This is borne out both by the way 1 Maccabees describes the piety of Judah and his followers in relation to the temple and its purity, as well as how 2 Maccabees emphasizes Judah's religious piety in general. Nonetheless, the Maccabees and Hasmoneans' later insistence that Jews in the diaspora would continue to celebrate it annually also stem from political reasons to enhance their own rule.
Okay, we're going to read a little bit about the historical background.
Historical background of Hanukkah. Shortly after Judah Maccabee defeated the Seleucid army at Bezor.
Seleucids are basically the Greeks that are controlling much of, what we consider to be the ancient world in the, several centuries, basically the Hellenistic period. And this is all before the Common Era.
So shortly after Judah Maccabee defeated the Seleucid army at Bezor and Lysias and the Syrian Greek army retreated from Judea, the Maccabees entered Jerusalem. On the 25th of Kislev, 164 BCE, Judah purified the temple. This was a crucial turning point in the history of the Jews in general. This began the process of Judea's independence from the Seleucid Empire and of the Jerusalem temple in particular, which would grow in wealth and stature in the coming centuries. Judah entered Jerusalem and the temple in Kislev, since this was his first opportunity to do so.
Babylonian, yeah.
No, I know, but your picture is cutting me off
Is
now.
it too big?
No,
It's
Oh,
you.
maybe I just need to move it up.
the
Okay.
thumbnail in the corner on the Zoom.
Yeah.
We have our own pictures just in the corner. That's what you can't see that.
Right. Okay.
You'll push it up.
Is that better or is still a problem?
I think it's okay now.
Okay. Judah entered.
All right. Judah entered Jerusalem and the temple in Kislev, since this was his first opportunity to do so. A Babylonian inscription indicates that Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes died in Kislev 164 BCE, but we do not know exactly where he died, and it is impossible to ascertain when Judah heard of his death. In any case, the preoccupation of Antiochus IV with the East allowed Judah to capture Jerusalem. The exact day of the festival of Hanukkah was not chosen at random. It was the anniversary of the temple's desecration. It happened that on the same day on which the sanctuary, please move the screen.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. It happened that on the same day on which the sanctuary had been profaned by the foreigners, the purification of the sanctuary took place. That is, on the 25th day of the same month, which was Kislev.
Okay, so I'm going to stop. I'm I'll stop sharing for a moment, and I'm going to jump to a presentation. But the main point that, and again, I encourage you, if you're interested, read the rest of the article. It talks about the political environment. But as you'll see in the presentation that I'm going to share with you, for me, the most interesting thing, and I'll talk about this, is that Hanukkah is not in the Hebrew Bible. It's the only, I would say, significant holiday that's not a biblical holiday. It's only mentioned in the Talmud. And I'll talk more about that when we get to some of these sorts. Well, let me mention it right now. So my take on this is, so basically, historically, what you have is, because of the Jews are living in a Greek world, just as we're living in an English-speaking world, the Jews were living in a world where most people spoke Greek. And so Jews wanted a Greek translation of the Bible. And they prepared one in roughly beginning in the year 200 BCE with the Torah, and later on with other books of the Bible. So you had a bunch of Jewish books that now are in Greek. Okay, remember, the Bible is not one book. The Bible, Hebrew Bible, consists of 39 separate books, and they all don't agree with each other. So that's a whole other interesting subject. But so basically, you have a bunch of these Jewish books existing, presumably in Hebrew, but certainly they are translated into Greek. Now the question is, which ones make it into our Bible called the Tanakh? And we have records of the rabbis discussing particular books and deciding whether they should be in or not. And the most famous one is the Song of Songs, which is erotic love poetry. And the rabbis decide it should be in because it's really an allegory of God's love for Israel. So for some reason, and I'm going to speculate on the reason, the rabbis decided not to include the books of Maccabees. The books of Maccabees were clearly Greek Jewish books, but the rabbis kept them out of the Bible. They did not include them in the Bible. And my understanding is the reason is the last thing the rabbis wanted to do was to encourage a revolt. When the rabbis are writing the Talmud and deciding which books are in and which books are out, the Jews had suffered a horrible defeat at the hands of the Romans between the years 66 and 70, Common Era. And then later on, in 135, Common Era, there is the unsuccessful Bar Kokhba revolt. So the message of Hanukkah that we all remember is, not by right and not by power, but by spirit alone, we can live in peace. So that's actually a quote from the Bible, and another Debbie Friedman song. So basically, the idea is we can overcome greater forces because God's on our side. Well, that worked apparently in the Hanukkah story, but it didn't seem to work when we tried to throw off Roman rule. And the rabbis understood that trying to fight Roman rules was a death sentence for Jews and Judaism. So they did not include the books of Maccabees. The Christian church never got the memo that those books were out. So there's a whole collection of books, I think about a dozen books, that were part of the Septuagint in Greek, but the rabbis kept out of the Hebrew Bible, but the Catholic Church kept in their Old Testament. And they are generally called the Apocrypha. So I don't know if there's a question or comment about that. I saw a couple of hands. Alan.
It has to do with the Christian Bible. Does one or Maccabees 1 or 2 or both get included someplace in the Christian?
Yeah, it's in the Apocrypha. It's in the Christian Old Testament. It's in the Catholic and Orthodox, Roman Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, Old Testament.
How about the Quran?
No. I mean, there may be some stories about Maccabees. I'm actually not aware of whether the Maccabees are even mentioned in the Quran. I don't know. It might be.
It's not in our writings or any of even that third group. It's not even.
I actually don't understand what you.
Of the three things: the Tanakh, the prophets, and what I call the writings.
And the writings, yes.
It's not in there.
No, it's not in the Hebrew Bible at all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You said, I'm sorry, you said that Torah has 39 books. We have it's
The
only
Bible,
7.
not the Torah.
Oh,
The
Bible.
Torah
Oh,
has 5 books.
5
The
books. Yeah,
Hebrew Bible
I
has
made mistake.
39 books. Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that. Okay, so I am now going to jump, to share a presentation I made. Some of this is pretty simple, and I will try and go quickly through it. I did this for a congregation, so let me go start from the beginning. Okay, I presume you can see
Yes.
the PowerPoint. Oh, I
Yeah.
always have this problem. Yeah,
Good.
okay, good. So, so one of the things I often mention, sometimes I mention it so often, I think people are going to throw things at me, that Hanukkah is not the Jewish Christmas, but without Hanukkah, there would be no Christmas. And without Christmas, we would know a lot less about Hanukkah. Yeah, so let me just comment. The reason I say without Hanukkah, there would be no Christmas is that had the Hanukkah revolt failed, this would be, like 160 years or so before the birth of Jesus. Jesus would not have, in all likelihood, would not have been born a Jew if Judaism had been wiped out. I don't know what Christians would say would have happened, but I have discussed this with Christian theologians, and at least they've told me it's not insulting to say that without Hanukkah, there would be no Christmas. And the story I just told, without Christmas, we would know a lot less about Hanukkah because there are no surviving Hebrew copies of the books of Maccabees. We only have them from the Greek versions that were preserved by the church. So it's kind of, sorry.
Pardon me for not raise my hand. Not the Dead Sea Scrolls, those kind of things that got
No, no, and the Dead Sea Scrolls tend not to have the later books of the Bible, and I don't think the Dead Sea Scrolls have anything in Greek. So,
the Greek part. Okay, thank you.
yes, yeah, and there would have been the Maccabees would have been presumably in Hebrew, translated into Greek, but I'm not aware. It's a great question. I'm not aware of any segments from the books of Maccabees in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but that would be worth checking. So we always talk about how you spell Hanukkah with a CH or an H. The only correct way to spell it is in Hebrew. And of course, I think or if you don't know, you're about to learn, the Hebrew word Hanukkah means dedication, means the dedication of the temple. When you actually put up a mezuzah on your house, technically that's called Chanukiat Habayit, the dedication of a home. And in the text, it's called Chanukiat Mizbeach, the dedication of the altar. Yeah, Alan.
Last year in my Hebrew class I take with Nebush Nefesh, the teacher said that if you say Hanukkah, not Hanukkah, it has the meaning of breast milking, milking. It has some meaning related to,
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's modern Hebrew, and
he was trying to stress the fact that you have to say it right. And he
yeah,
uses.
I mean, the better example of that is challah is a bride, and challah is bread. So it's important to pronounce that one right.
Rabbi, isn't Hanukkah also mean menorah?
Well, this is not Chanukiah. This is Chanukah.
I know. I thought I heard you say Hanukkah somewhere.
Oh, I might. If I did, then I misspoke.
Now, when you're spelling it in English, you have the choice of with or without a C, with 1 or 2 Ks, and with or without the H on the end. So
Here we go.
8 possible combinations. So you could spell it one of the way on a different way on each day, because there's exactly the same number of combinations possible as days of Hanukkah.
And I think if you could only think of 8, you're not using your imagination.
Yeah, but what I'm suggesting,
so here it is.
Each way, a different way each day.
Okay, I would say that is a new wonderful practice, Stephen. We'll see if it catches on in 1,000 years. But here, and don't ask me where they find this Oxford English corpus of the roughly half of the appearances probably in print are with an H and 2 Ks, and the next one is a CH and 1 K. And I don't know why there would be 2 Ks here and only 1 K there. And there's with 2 N's, and there's 1 K, there's variance, and so on. So anyway, that's the That's where you can spell it. So I think you probably know this. The menorah is 8 candles, or originally oil lamps. Of course, candles are fairly modern. I don't know when they actually started developing them. I have a quick video on how you light them. And you place from right to left and light from left to right. And the menorah should be seen as from a window. The dreidel, I have a bunch of dreidels, have letters on them. A nun, a gimel, a hey, and a pei, which stand for this phrase, Neskadol, I'm sorry, and a shin, which has Neskadol Hayasham, a great miracle happened there in Israel. And my sense is this is fairly recent, designed to sell dreidels to tourists. You can buy one with a pei, which says a great miracle happened here, and it's a gambling game.
But the pay, the here versus the there, that's the only ones I ever saw in Israel in the last 10
years. Yeah. I think I read somewhere that, you go back 100 years and they weren't doing that in Israel. And this is a good, I'm actually going to send copies of these slides out in my email. And there's a wonderful website, schneiderman.net, with a lot of home celebrations. It's really, Amy Schneiderman is a wonderful source. Yeah, Joanne.
Rabbi, is there a reason that we place from right to left and then light from left to right?
There may be a reason. I don't know what it is. Ask your Chabad rabbi. How's that? No.
The left to right question?
Yes.
That's a Hillel.
I mean, it's like reading. It's like no. The Hillel question is the school of Shammai said we should light all 8 lights on the first night, and then the second night 7, and the third night 6, and so on, because the oil is burning down. Hillel said, no, we want to make the mitzvah more and more beautiful. And Hillel, as he usually did, won out on that one. We light we place from left to right, from right to left. Now I'm getting confused. And we light from left to right. So when we line up I'm going to show the video. Oh, this one I've seen on I haven't seen it this year. It says, imagine if your cell phone was at 10%, but it lasted 8 days. Now you understand Hanukkah.
Yeah, and it's not an 8.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know why they did it, but anyway. So here's how to light a Hanukkah menorah. It's a very short video. Oh, you know what? Hold on. You can't hear it, can you?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I need to do the screen share with sound.
Yeah.
Let's see. I stopped it. Okay. Okay, now you should be able to hear it. And there's actually
now we can hear it, but we can't hear it.
So that's how you place them.
We're not seeing the video. Now we're hearing the music, but we're seeing Leviticus something.
Sorry?
We're not seeing the video. We were hearing the music, but seeing the biblical verse.
It's showing Leviticus 8.
Yeah.
First you shared only the video without the music, then you shared only the music without the video.
So what were you seeing? The article? Or?
Yeah, we see the article now.
Okay, so hold on. Let me get rid of the article.
I think it's Safaria. We see Safaria.
You see Safaria? Okay, I got to start this again. Let me start. Sorry. So, do you see now something called Holidays of Light and Winter?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I think I can go here and back up. All right, let's see. You see now how to light a Hanukkah?
Yes.
Okay, good. And you hear it?
Yeah.
So I'll just point out one other thing. With a Hanukkah, there are 8 candles and one. I always call it the shamas. I may be saying that wrong. But basically, it should be distinguished somehow. And sometimes it's in the middle and higher. but it should not. It should be somehow distinguished from the other candles. And then the other thing I just wanted to point out, I'm not going to spend time on this at all, but there are a lot of holidays of light in the winter. And I think I don't think I have a slide on this, but Hanukkah is guaranteed to be at the darkest time of the year. Not only is it in Kislev, which is in usually December, not always December, but it's also the 25th of Kislev, which means it begins 4 days before the new moon and extends for 4 days after the new moon. So even the solar cycle and the lunar cycle are at their darkest. Alan.
I just wanted to point out, because it's on our minds for other reasons, that in the Southern Hemisphere, they follow the practices that we're talking about, Israel and in America, but
in the summer.
Their light is different.
Right. And I'm going to be in Antarctica where I'm going to be there in the middle of January. The sun sets at about 10 or 10:30 in the evening and rises about 3 or 3:30 in the morning. So the world prays for rain during the rainy season in Israel. So we're Israel focused. But anyway, here are holidays that all are holidays of light in the winter. And, I have a couple of comments about Kwanzaa, which is fairly recent African American, Lunar New Year, Diwali. I don't even know where this one is, but there's a lot of holidays. Swedish Christmas, Swedish holiday. So lights in the winter, and even Christmas, and in the Yule log and everything. They think the 25th of December, was basically taken from Saturn worship, the god Saturn, because the description in the New Testament describes Jesus being born probably in the springtime rather than in the dead of winter. Okay, this is kind of fun. I think you may know Ladino. Ladino is a Jewish folk language typically in Sephardic lands, and it sounds a lot like Spanish. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this, and I hope you enjoy it. Ocho candalicas. Hanukkah lindas aquí, ocho candelas aquí. Hanukkah lindas aquí, ocho candelas aquí. And I'll pause it because you can see, certainly in the English transliteration, this doesn't look like Spanish. Sej and Sintu. Basically, what you have in Ladino, you have Hebrew. We haven't seen any Hebrew yet, and there may not even be in this song. But you also have medieval Spanish, because people are speaking Spanish the way they spoke Spanish, roughly 1,000 years ago. So far, yeah, it's really all Spanish. Okay, we'll skip the rest. So that's a Ladino song. Yeah, Alan.
So I had the understanding that Ladino is a merge of Hebrew and Spanish in the same way that Yiddish is a merge of German and Hebrew. But these numbers don't seem to be, I don't know.
So what I would say is Yiddish has far more Hebrew in it than does Ladino.
Okay, that's good to know. Thanks.
Yeah. So there's another song which is about Abraham. Avram Avinu, Padre Querino, Padre Bendicho, Luz de Israel. So the most of that is Spanish, but except for Avinu, Avram Avinu, Abraham our father. Padre Quirino, a beloved father. So Ladino, this is based on my ear. I think I've discussed this with scholars also, has much less Hebrew in it than does Yiddish have Hebrew in it. So a lot of words that we know in Yiddish, like mishpacha and bracha and machaya, and lots of Yiddish expressions are really Hebrew expressions. Okay, I think you know the blessings. I'm not going to dwell on them. When you light the Hanukkah candle, it's a mitzvah blessing. Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahad ligner shel Chanukah, lighting the light of Hanukkah. And then every night we also say, it's not a mitzvah blessing. Remember, there's no Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu in there. It's just the opening. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Sha'asa nisim lavotenu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh, who performed miracles for our ancestors in ancient times at this season of the year. And then, sorry?
Some that omit the word shall, that are just...
Sorry? Okay.
I for the first blessing, I've seen some versions that omit the word shall.
Lahad Ligner? Chanukah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Let me see if
I've seen it, I've skipped over it. I'm not saying you're wrong, but it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense in Hebrew grammar. It would be Lahad Ligner. I guess you could say.
Here, wait a minute. I actually have one with me.
Okay, and then the word shell is not in there.
Okay. I'll read the transliteration. That's faster, and then I can show you the Hebrew. Lahad Ligner Hanukkah.
Okay, I've never seen that.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, in a way, Ner Chanukah, I guess, could also mean the light of Hanukkah. Is that on your thing is blurry?
I know that. I figured out how part of what does.
So is that on a box of candles?
Yeah, it's a box of candles.
Maybe I would not consider that an authoritative halachic source, but
that's also true.
Who made the candles? Just out of curiosity.
Who is this from? I'm looking. I don't see it anywhere that it's...
Okay, well, anyway, if you find it, let me know. And then on the first night, we recite the Shehachianu, who's kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us through the season. Theoretically, the Shehachianu is for a happy time, a happy thing that occurs periodically. I would say in most of our world, we recite the Shehachianu whenever we're feeling exceptionally good. But that would not be traditional. And then there's also, there's a traditional blessing, which is interesting. I'm not going to do it in Hebrew. And we light these candles because of the miracles God performed for our ancestors and the miraculous deliverance by which God saved them. During the 8 nights of Hanukkah, these lights are sacred. We are not to use them, but only behold them in order to give thanks and praise God. So you're not actually supposed to use the lights in any way. So specifically, you're not supposed to read by them, Hanukkah lights. And if you read by them, if you happen to read something in their light, we use the legal fiction that you're really using the Shamas light and not actually the Hanukkah light. But that's another blessing.
Is that the same custom or practice for Shabbat candles too?
No, I've never seen that with Shabbat.
So we could.
You're supposed to use them, the light.
Okay. Good to know.
I'm not expert on this. And then, of course, latkes and sufganiyot. In Israel, the traditional food is sufganiyot, which are jelly donuts. In the Eastern European world, it's potato pancakes. And, of course, the common thread is oil. These are oily, greasy foods, and we're celebrating the miracle of the oil. I used to think I came from a long line of potato pancake makers, but it turns out the word lutker is a small boat in Russian, and the village that my family is from is on a river. So I want to talk a little bit about Sukkot, and we've talked about this in other settings.
Oh, before you do that,
yeah,
you didn't answer Rabbi Wolpe's question.
You didn't tell me what it was.
Now, I was waiting in case you answered it. So he did a beautiful sermon many years ago, which I have stuck in my head, which is who hid the oil? So what he tried to convey is that people, when the temple was being desecrated, that some priest anticipated there would be an opportunity to clean the temple again, and that priest hid the oil.
But apparently not enough for 8 days.
Yeah, well, okay, but it
Or
was
maybe it
nice.
was hidden. Okay.
It was
Yeah, I mean, I like that. And
statement
it
of
actually,
a statement of hope. Yeah, right. That's
yeah.
all.
And it's consistent with the fact that, as you probably know, spending so much time in Jerusalem, that there's a temple institute and they have built the censers and shovels and they are ready for the coming of the Messiah, the rebuilding of the third temple. They've got everything prepared.
If I never thought about it, Mr. Ben-Gvir reminds us that every time he goes to the Temple Mount.
Right. Okay. So again, Sukkot is super important because of prayers for rain. I think all of you have heard me talk about this. We pray for rain in the rainy season, not in the dry season. Why do we pray for rain in the rainy season? Because it might rain. We don't pray for rain in the dry season because no matter how hard we pray, it's not going to rain in the dry season. That's why they call it the dry season. And if it doesn't rain in the dry season, that's perfectly okay. It's not supposed to rain in the dry season. If it doesn't rain in the rainy season, you have mass starvation because the crops don't grow, the animals die. So Sukkot has a lot of water imagery associated with it. And I remember a scholar, at Hebrew Union College saying, it may well be that the high holidays precede Sukkot by just 4 days. Sukkot is 4 days after Yom Kippur. So we've cleansed our souls of sins so that our prayers for rain will be answered. So the question is, what does this have to do with Hanukkah? So we start our pray for rain in the dry season, in the 8-day holiday of Sukkot. And actually, we start praying on the last day of Sukkot because we don't want to be rained on while we're sitting in the sukkah. So now I want to talk about where Hanukkah, this is actually covered in much more detail in the article that I mentioned or that I sent you, but this is kind of a shortened version of it about all the places where Hanukkah is mentioned. And again, this is from 2nd Maccabees, written about 124 BCE. So this is written, 30, 40, 50 years after the events. And it talks about how they cleansed the temple and the sanctuary was purified on the 25th day of Kislev, the same day in the same month in which the foreigners had profaned it. We have a history of when they destroyed the temple. And the joyful celebration lasted 8 days. It was like the Feast of Tabernacles, namely, it was like Sukkot. And they, recalled that they had celebrated Sukkot in the mountains, and then a measure was passed by the public assembly to the effect that the entire Jewish race should keep these days every year. So that's from 2nd Maccabees. Also from 2nd Maccabees, this is one of the letters they talked about, the epistles. And it says that you are to observe the celebration of a Feast of Tabernacles in the month of Kislev. So they're referring to what we're calling Hanukkah. They are calling Sukkot, certainly in the Greek and now in the English translation. And then this is from the New Testament, from the first book of Maccabees, and it talked about how, they cleansed the temple, that it had been defiled. And I remember once reading that the Western Wall tunnels, which some of us have been in, may well have been built to bring in enough water to cleanse the temple during the time of the Maccabees. And they repaired it. And then they burned incense on the altar and lighted the lamps on the lampstand. I'm sure this is menorah, the Hebrew word for which this is translated. And for 8 days, they celebrated the dedication of the altar and joyfully offered holocausts and sacrifices of deliverance and praise. The word Holocaust is a little jarring to our eyes, but the word Holocaust comes from the word holy, and it's burnt offerings. So there's, as you may know, in Hebrew, we like to refer to that period of time as the Shoah, which means utter destruction rather than the Holocaust. Then Judas and his brothers and the entire congregation of Israel decreed that the days of the dedication of the altar should be observed with joy and gladness on the anniversary of every year for 8 days. And actually, when you read back in the Hebrew Bible about the original ordination of priests, that also took place over 8 days. And now this is from Josephus, who was a Jewish general who basically was a turncoat to the Romans and wrote histories of many things, but now he's also writing about Hanukkah. And it says, and from that time, we celebrate the festival and call it lights. Now he's writing later than the books of Maccabees. I suppose the reason was because this liberty beyond our hopes appeared to us, and it was thence that the name was given to the festival. So the interesting thing for me here is, in the books of Maccabees, nowhere is this miracle of oil mentioned, miracle of the oil burning for 8 days. And even Josephus, who understands that the holiday is called the Festival of Lights, is wondering why, and he doesn't come up with this idea that it was because the oil burned for 8 days. Everybody with me on this?
Yes.
Okay. So then now we go in the Talmud, in Tractate Shabbat. Why is it in Tractate Shabbat? Because it comes amid a discussion of what kind of wicks can be used for Sabbath lamps. And then somebody says, what about Hanukkah? So the question is raised in Aramaic, my Hanukkah. What is the reason for Hanukkah? For our rabbis taught on the 25th of Kislev commence the days of Hanukkah, which are 8, on which a lamentation for the dead and fasting are forbidden, because it's a happy holiday. For when the Greeks entered the temple, they defiled all the oils therein, and when the Hasmonean dynasty prevailed against and defeated them, they made search and found only 1 cruse of oil, which lay with the seal of the high priest, but which contained sufficient for 1 day's lighting. Yet a miracle was wrought therein, and they lit the lamp therewith for 8 days. The following year, these days were appointed as a festival with the recital of Hallel, praises, and thanksgiving. So here, my take on this, not that I've ever read this authoritatively, but that Hanukkah was a very popular holiday because it celebrated the victory over the Greeks. And so people were celebrating it. And we had the books of Maccabees, and the rabbis were certainly aware of the Greek translation and the Septuagint, but they did not want to encourage rebellion against Rome. And Rome's rule over the Holy Land went certainly into the 300s. I think the late 300s, the Roman Empire survives. They did not want to encourage rebellion against Rome, and so they discovered that it's really about the miracle of oil lasting. So when I talk about this, I always use phrases like, our tradition teaches the story of this miracle. And I never really say it's true because I have great doubts that it's true. And it's one of the things which I'm always a little, I would say, amused at, that people want to believe. People get upset to hear a rabbi say that this miracle may not have happened. And so I ask them, here's my sense. I don't think they believe that these kinds of miracles happen, but I think they want their rabbis to believe that and maybe kids to believe that these kinds of things happen. Yeah, Alan.
So I recently read something, which I'm going to rephrase from what I read, which is the miracle of the oil is really a 7-day miracle, because the other...
We're going to discuss that, actually.
Okay. Oh, well, okay. This is what I read, but I'll add the point that to even have the oil that's a different miracle to have 1 day. The second miracle is that it lasted 7 days.
Yes. So that we're going to discuss the question of what was the miracle on the first night.
Oh, okay.
Farah,
Cool.
I don't know if your hand is raised or just covering your...
Yes, Rora,
Okay.
Something I heard, but I cannot believe exactly, that American Jewish make Hanukkah a big party because
yes.
the Christmas, that their kids, instead of going to Christmas and see those stuff go to Hanukkah and have our tradition.
I'm guessing in Persia that was not a big deal. Hanukkah.
Not, no, that's
No,
like
same thing in Morocco. Even in Israel, when I spent a lot of time in Israel, Hanukkah people lit menorahs, but the traditional gift-giving holiday is Purim, not Hanukkah. But of course, the confluence with Christmas and Christmas time, lead us to a very big celebration of Hanukkah in this country. Yeah,
and
Alan?
uh,
Oh, sorry. Farah, you had something else you were going to add.
yeah, and Purim is in Iran is close to the Nowruz, the New Year of Persian. So
that's interesting.
that too is together.
And is the New Year of Persia the same every year?
Yes, every year in the first day of the spring is our New Year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
we have
nice.
completely fourth season, and the first day of the spring is New Year.
Okay, and it looks like Stephen found some questions of whether or not we say shell. But I'm gonna
Okay.
Go on.
Well, apparently not doing shell is a Chabad custom, and I found
okay.
that explains the reason behind it.
Okay. Okay.
The
other thing which I found a while ago, and there's some, if you look on the internet, you find some evidence of this. This was from Moment magazine. And the idea is that according to the calculations, Halley's Comet was visible in Jerusalem at the time of the cleansing of the temple. And certainly that would have been a big thing because, in fact, I'm just going to read the highlighted sections. In 164 BC, the comet came unusually close to the Earth, and it must have been quite a spectacular display in the night sky. This means that the reappearance of Halley's Comet on December 3rd would have come just before or right at the beginning of the work of purification, and the comet would have been visible on clear nights throughout the period in which the priests were preparing the temple for rededication.
Why is Halley spelled differently in the headline and in the actual article?
Because I typed the headline and I made a typo. That's why. That one I do know the answer to. Alan, you have a question or something?
Yeah, one in maybe two places, to my understanding, Hanukkah is not even identified by the Jewish people there because I think it's maybe in South Asia, like there's some synagogues that they discovered they migrated to before the time of Hanukkah, and so they didn't know there was a Hanukkah.
Yeah,
and
because the Ethiopian Jews didn't have the Talmud, so they would not be aware of Hanukkah at all.
And I think there's a place
Makes sense
in Asia too. Yeah, right.
Interesting reverse twist on that. There's a group somewhere in the world that supposedly was a splinter group that had split off long into the past centuries earlier, except that they knew the story of the Red Sea, which is a fairly recent mistranslation, which means that they've learned it in modern times, and it isn't something that's been with them for
Okay. So I want to just comment briefly on a couple of deep spiritual lessons from Hanukkah and then a bunch of silly songs. So one of the deep lessons of Hanukkah is you have enough. So from the arms and fighting against the Greeks to the oil lasting, we didn't think we had enough. And so one of the lessons is there are times in your life, my life, that I feel like I don't have enough time, money, patience, love, whatever. And the lesson of Hanukkah is that with God and faith, you do have enough. Even more powerful is what was impure can be made pure. And in fact, the first temple was dedicated, the second temple was dedicated. We don't have holidays celebrating those dedications. We have a holiday, Hanukkah, celebrating the rededication of a temple that was fouled and then was cleansed. So I think of Hanukkah, as a holiday for people who are fighting disease, fighting addiction, fighting crap in their life, to put it gently, Hanukkah is your holiday because we celebrate not getting something nice and new and shiny, but but cleansing what was fouled and making it pure and holy again. And then this, okay, so this is a very famous picture of a Hanukkah in Germany in 1931. And then here is, the Brandenburg Gate. This picture's a few years old, but think about the difference in Germany between then and now. And then this gets back to, so whoops, I don't know what happened to Alan, whether we just lost him or he disappeared. We celebrate 8 nights of Hanukkah, but the first day's burning was no miracle, right? There was 1 day's worth and it burned. So the question is, I'll let you chime in if you want to speculate, what was the miracle on the first night?
It was because they find so much oil and began to turn on the lights. It was a miracle, I think.
So your point is that they found oil, period, that they found some oil. So yeah, hi, Alan, glad you're back. We're discussing this question of what was the miracle on the first night, because presumably it was no big surprise that it burned for 1 night.
Using the same oil as the same menorah as in previous years, or was that menorah damaged and they made another one?
I actually don't know the answer to that question.
Because I've read it's the latter, and what I've never understood is, wouldn't you expect that in a different menorah the oil would burn at a different rate? Why would you?
Oh, but it doesn't. I mean, it just said there was enough for 1 day. We don't have the detail.
For 1 day in the menorah they've been using in previous years.
But we don't know whether it was the old vial, the new vial. There's speculation that the menorah and the holy objects were destroyed or hidden by Nebuchadnezzar. This would have been, like 400 or 500 years before this. So any other thoughts on what was the miracle on the first night?
The miracle on was that nobody had the foresight to a week ahead of time send somebody to get more oil so they'd have it ready when they needed it, and there could be a miracle. And because if they had thought of that, then there would be no opportunity for a miracle.
What was the miracle on the first night?
The miracle was that the people didn't think to get oil ahead of time and thereby negate the need for a miracle.
Okay, so I agree with you, but you are stating it from the point of view of a pessimist. I'm going to state it from the point of view of an optimist, and that the miracle is, even though they hadn't thought of it, and they only had enough for 1 night, they lit it anyway. And what we see is, particularly in light of the discussion, we had a big discussion on Monday night of the massacre in Australia, that we keep going, even though we may not feel like it's possible or conceivable to keep going. The idea is they only had enough for 1 night. They knew it would have to last for 8 nights, but they lit it anyway. So, and I like that idea. And I would say that's very reminiscent of Judaism.
But today we had one rabbi was killed. Today we had another disaster. Today,
yeah, I'm not aware of that.
Wow.
Okay,
in Boston.
I think in Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw something about a shooting, but I'm not aware of it.
Oh,
but
wow.
Anyway, the point is the same. The point is, we don't succumb and say we can't keep being Jewish. We are going to keep being Jewish in spite of common sense to the contrary. I mean, the whole idea, I'm now working, in fact, tonight I'm going to be meeting with a woman converting to Judaism. The idea that people continue to convert to Judaism in spite of the anti-Semitism, in spite of the hatred, is a miracle. Okay, just a few songs. I'll try and do them quickly.
Rabbi?
Yes.
You probably have said this, but when they were getting ready to rededicate the temple, the fact that we learned retroactively that 8 days the oil lasted, did the priests or the leaders, what were they planning? Were they planning on 8 or planning on?
Oh, I mean, just between you and me, I don't believe the story for a minute.
No, but just in terms of context.
So all we know is what's in the Talmud, and I haven't gone through all of the commentaries.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know that there's a discussion about the priest arguing, let's wait another 8 days. I think the general pious story is they had the confidence to move ahead and that God would work a miracle. I mean, just the founding and the survival of the state of Israel is a miracle. I love the quote attributed to Ben Gurion that says that in Israel, if you don't believe in miracles, you're not a realist. I like that. Okay, few songs.
Okay, go ahead.
This one was as big a surprise to me when I came up with the line "no oil" as it was a surprise to anyone. I wrote a show for Adar Elohim that with the idea I was the 2,222-year-old man, and that all Christmas songs were originally Hanukkah songs.
I remember it. I remember.
So here's what I think was the best one. On the first Hanukkah, the temple was dark. We had scrubbed it and cleaned it and polished the ark. And when everything was set, then we looked for holy oil. We asked priests, cantors, rabbis, and even the moil. No oil, no oil, no oil, no oil. We were cranky, unhappy, each boy and each goyle. No oil, no oil, no oil, no oil. Just one sacred jar in all Yisrael. So we poured it in the lamp, said a bracha, and lit it. And oh, miracle of miracles, that one small jar did it. Lasted all of 8 long days, till we got more from the store to light our ner tamid forevermore. No oil, we didn't need no more oil to light our ner tamid forevermore. So when I introduce this, particularly in interfaith environments, I ask people what the word Noel means, and nobody seems to know. And I say, I'll tell you what it means. It means no oil. So this was actually, I think my son wrote it, and it's a fire safety warning. Goes like this. I had a little latke. I fried it to a crisp. Daddy wouldn't eat it, but I like potato chips. Oh, latkes, 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 you fry 'em in a pan. You only get 'em once a year, so eat 'em while you can. I like to light the candles. I try to every night. My sister said it wasn't fair, and we got in a fight. Oh, candles, candles, candles. 6 more than Shabbat. Don't fight when you are lighting. Those flames are pretty hot. The candles caught the dreidel. The dreidel caught the drapes. Daddy picked my sister up. We all made our escape. Oh, fire, fire, fire. The house is burning fast. I know that all the latkes and my presents will be ash. I used to have a little house. It burned for 8 whole days. Everybody get this? The miracle of burning 8 days. The rabbis and the firemen said they were amazed. Oh, sorry, sorry, sorry. I didn't mean no harm. Next year, all I want is a new house from State Farm.
What's the underlying?
That was beautiful.
Dreidel, dreidel, dreidel.
Dreidel, dreidel.
Somebody was complaining that my songs were too Christian.
On Hanukkah, should you bring your car in for servicing?
Should you bring your car in for? I have no
oil.
Okay.
You know,
Why
not take your car in for an oil change?
Okay, I have one more song since we were talking about potato latkes. From the same show. Sizzling in the oil in all available pans, the room begins to broil, and Mom just burned her hands. Oi, oi, the spatter and the pop, the dripping of the grease. Your conscience tells you stop. Someone call the cholesterol police. Oh, latkes time, latkes every day. Our stomachs churn, we've got heartburn for Pepto, we all pray. Latkes time to tell you how it felt. Our entire shtetl was playing dreidel for tums instead of gelt. dripping on your tie. The grease stain's getting old. You hear your sister cry. The applesauce has mold. Oy vey, the baby starts to scream. And mom begins to fetch the heat, the smell, the grease. Oh, well, I think I'm gonna retch. Oh, Latkes time, Latkes every day. On Hanukkah, you eat the foods which you should stay away. Latkes time, dietarily quite nasty. Come Tu B'Shvat, you won't look so hot when you've had your angioplasty.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Really
I'm
good.
here all week.
Thank
Really
you.
good. Really good.
I have to say that last line was inspired by Tom Lehrer, who would come up with the greatest and most obscure rhymes of all. So I am very proud of rhyming anything with angioplasty.
You have a printed version of that
I
written?
do have a printed version of that.
Can you
But I'm
send
going
it?
to send out the whole
Okay.
the PDF. Anyway, so I wish you all a happy Hanukkah. And
Hanukkah.
Thank you.
You
And
too.
same to you.
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. And next week, I actually don't know what we're doing next week. I think we